Romeo Doubs, here's what we know, right? Suspended for this last week's game, did not show up on Thursday for practice and on Friday for practice. And the most concerning part of it all, we're going to play some audio right now from Jason Wilde from Wilde and Tausch, available from 9 a.m. until noon across ESPN Wisconsin and Wisconsin On Demand. The most concerning part of it all, the lack of communication. Here is Mr. Wilde.
This stuff does not happen. He is not the first person to be unhappy with his role, but he is the first person during my career anyway, which is not short, to completely no show for work, to have a member of the team's security staff come to his home to make sure he's not lying dead in his bathroom doing a wellness check. So this was unprecedented, at least during my time.
Jason Wilde is not a very hyperbolic person. So when he says the phrase, they were doing a wellness check to make sure that Romeo Doubs was not lying dead on the floor in his bathroom, he's not kidding. That tells me, that tells everyone that between Romeo Doubs and the Packers, from whatever happened in that Wednesday practice to Thursday morning and early afternoon, it was radio silence. No one expected him to not show up to practice. Also going to break off topic real quick. Wes in the chat on YouTube says Minshew Mania and wants me to repeat it. I will say that a lot. Maybe we'll turn that into a hot button. But back to the Romeo Doubs situation. That's concerning. Not only that a Green Bay Packer is kind of protesting about their role, because we know there's not a true wide receiver one on this team coming into the year. Now it looks like Jaden Reed. But the fact that he didn't even express anything that we know of between Wednesday and Thursday and just didn't show up to work, that's not ideal.
No, and this is coming 2 weeks after Malik Willis being the starter actually had people like Christian Watson say, I don't care if I get the ball or not. I want this team to win. We've seen it for so long. You hear certain teams, like the one that sticks out to me is the Steeler way with the Steelers. The Packers are one of those teams. They don't put up with nonsense. They're very old school. This is about business. This is about the team. We got to win football games. So when have this come out, the one thing I'll say immediately, yes, it's very concerning. I don't know how Coach LaFleur, how this team could have handled the situation any better. You suspend him right away. It's team above individual. Yep. And then right after, you go right back, going to bat for your guy. This is not characteristic of him. This is not who Romeo Doubs is. We think he's going to still be an asset to this team. That's different than what you see in a lot of these places. What's going on with former Packer Devontae Adams in Las Vegas? You see him out there where he just didn't have communication with the team, and he wanted to. The Raiders, the joke of a franchise they are, didn't even talk to one of the best wide receivers that they've had in a long, long time. It just frustrates me to see how poorly some teams handle situations where the Packers, this felt flawless to me.
So far. We'll see how he responds. And we had Gabe Neitzel on from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. He'll be coming on most Mondays going forward. He's in Scotland next week, I just learned, so that's awesome.
Get out of here.
Golfing in Scotland, which is awesome. But the thing that he brought up that I thought was very interesting was, if you look at historically, and we only have a year and some change, 2 full years to go off of with Romeo Doubs, if you look at his usage historically, there has not been a downtick in usage. So through 17 games last year, he had 96 targets. So for you mathematicians, it's about 5.5 targets a game. Through 4 games before the suspension this last week, 20 targets. That's 5 targets a game with an offense that threw the ball 33 times in 2 games. So you have to understand that's going to skew the data a little bit. If anyone's going to run away with the targets on this offense, it's going to be the guy that has earned it in Jaden Reed. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not looking like Romeo Doubs is anything further back than what he was before. And that's the secondary. If you want to make the argument Dontavion Wicks is getting a lot more targets as of late, I'll give that to you. The tertiary option, but now Romeo Doubs is out. Tucker Kraft had a day. So you've got a lot of different options. But that's how it's always been. There was no 1,000-yard, there was no 900-yard receiver on this team last year. So why would Romeo Doubs think any different? And that's where some of the speculation started coming in, which was, did the Packers communicate something differently to him than what's happened in the first few weeks. And that we don't have an answer to yet.
No, and we don't. And I think a lot of it is frustration for the simple fact, he has 20 catches, but if you look at what he's done with those catches, he doesn't have a touchdown yet. He's averaging just a little over 40 yards a game.
Yep.
He sees himself as the guy that should have elevated this offense, the guy that could be a wide receiver one, and he simply hasn't produced like that so far. Maybe it was just a little frustration that just boiled over, handled it very poorly. But if that meeting that LaFleur and him had went as well as we're hearing, all you can do is move on. It's no big deal. It's no harm, no foul. You won the game. But we know how wide receivers are in this league. You get that diva tag, and all of a sudden people start really paying attention. You're going to get a lot more questions from people in the media. It's just a matter of how does he approach this now? How does he learn from this?
That's something very interesting, actually. The next time that Romeo Doubs takes the podium, someone is going to ask him to address it. There's going to be that gutsy reporter that doesn't dance around the topic, beat around the bush, and say, what happened last week? Can you expand on that? Now, if Doubs goes with the Matt LaFleur approach, he is not going to show his hand at all. He's going to ask that we move on to something else. The response that we got from Jason Wilde that we just played audio from a little bit ago was kind of a response to that, where Wilde was trying to dive into it, and LaFleur was saying, I appreciate the question, but I'm not going to expand on it.